Hey, what's cracking, everybody? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. I am seeing what you're seeing here, that little tiny thing at the bottom there. Let's see if we can get that resolved. Not really sure what's... Oh, I do know exactly what's up with that. Whoops, that's my bad. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to day one of the XLN Community Cup Finals. We got a lot of action to be getting in with you today. 5 rounds of PUBG Mobile Esports competition coming at you today. First and foremost, for those of you who aren't quite acquainted as to who I am, I'm RedEyes, your ever-lovable and adorably cuddly caster. We already know the drill. We're kicking things off with Erangel, and we have a stacked lobby competing today, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the likes of Excellence, Alpha 7 Esports, Wolves, iNCO, Golden Phyra, XFORCE, Almost There, Liquid Esports, Digital Age, Broken Spirits, The Celebrity Killers, Gthesis Esports, Entity Gaming, Poison Esports, Leviathan, Sinners, Complex Esports, Version 9, Velocity, 4 Sexy Frogs, and JRZ Esports. So I'm expecting nothing but action right off the rip, and you already know what we're kicking things off with. The very first map ever introduced to PUBG Mobile. We are, of course, speaking of Erangel. This is a map that really needs no introduction to any of these participating teams. By far the most acquainted map in the game here. So not a lot of room for simple mistakes at this stage of PUBG Mobile Esports. Now, I do believe I saw iNCO already in the feed here. We're going to get a brief line of sight here. Yep, it looks like they are here in the mix with none other than CK. This could be problematic for CK Vampire and Samar, as they already have lost one member. And, yep, Anuxify in the distance getting a takedown on Lara, and it looks to be a thirst to follow. Mar already equipped here with that UMP DBS combo, finding himself pretty prepared for any close quarter combat action. Looks like we might be having some action squaring off in the distance. As you can see on the alt cam on the bottom right of the screen, it does look like we have members of, yeah, that's going to be Golden Phyra in pretty darn close proximity to Poison Esports. Looks like Speedy of BS getting a takedown in the distance as well. McGrellin of iNCO holding the scouting position here, and it does seem to be a little bit of a battle of patience. As you can see, Bruno Zin has been knocked, very likely by Hustle, and whether or not any assistance or revives are going to happen is yet to be seen. It definitely would be a risky one with Hustle's off angle, as you can see. So, a little bit of a waiting game between these two teams, kind of that battle of patience, so to speak. But we're going to get the alt cam off here. Actually, tell you what, we'll put that on the alt cam, the fight that we're watching here between iNCO and CK, and just make sure we're not missing anything. Here's the lay of the land, and that first zone is an absolute nightmare for these participants. Absolutely kicking their feet with so much of the zone being occupied by water. It's just limiting the real estate options that they have already. So quickly tuning in to the likes of BS. This is, of course, Broken Spirits in their altercation with none other than Version 9. I hope the sound levels are coming through okay for y'all. Let me know if any issues are in chat. Alright, yep, we got action, and it is going to be TRZ with the takedown of his own here. We're going to get a line of sight on TRZ. Looks to be a little insult to injury, adding some gloating in onto the crates. And he's not going to be stopping there. He's aiming that M7 with his eyes on none other than Version 9's Nito, and it does seem to be a quick, easy takedown for him. That's going to bring Broken Spirits up to 4 elims on the board already. It's a great start. They didn't lose any members, but no time to waste as we tune in to the boys in Liquid. They are not too far off from Sinners Esports. Sinners definitely a team that has been putting their name on the board, especially in events like Titan Series. But as this is just match 1 of day 1, and there is a lot riding on this, ladies and gentlemen. Just in case you guys weren't aware, this has a $1,500 prize pool, an $800 first place prize, $400 to second. Ain't nothing wrong with third and getting that bronze medal when you got $200 to claim with it, and fourth place $100. So definitely a lot of scratch here on the table to be had, and not any over eagerness for sacrificing a shot at that so early on in these finals. Well, Karan and Jazzy putting a lot of pressure here on Neon. Does seem to be a little bit of space here, but tell you what, we're going to switch our attention briefly to the Golden Phyras once more, because they are squaring off. It looks like, yes, it's going to be none other than Digital Age just across the roadway before the bridge mark here, and it does seem like maybe Digital Age is going to prioritize getting a new positioning, maybe working their way over to this new zone, or getting a more prime position, maybe not so openly vulnerable. But as I say it, Zendry putting some warning shots outward towards the Phyras with that 4x M4. No connecting damage whatsoever. Guys, you're going to have to give me just a minute here. This screen is going to probably get resized just momentarily here while I get this all taken care of. No problem. All right. It looks like we are okay then. I withdraw that. We are all good. So, gonna be a quick view at the map here. Let's see just what sort of ground our participants have to work through here. Gonna be a lot of contestation on these bridge areas. As you can see, there's definitely a lot of potential points of altercation here. Let me see if I can get this highlighter up on the screen. You know, Red Eyes came prepared today. I'm definitely thinking we're going to get some confrontations between JRZ and their opponents down south in, I believe that's XFORCE, yeah. So, keeping an eye on that just for the brief moment. But this battle here at the school region has been waging basically since the start of the match, so I'm not overly enthusiastic about tuning into it if nothing new is unfolding. Fate a good ways away from his X-Force teammates here. As you can see, DK, Yaya, and Legend holding the bridge region, definitely getting a lot of good scouting intel on JRZ. I doubt that they have much awareness of his location just yet, unless there have been any preliminary warning shots fired. Probably not the case. Gonna get the map view up on the alt screen here one more time. Oh, yep, we saw Alpha 7 in the feed. Oh my goodness, so many fights at once, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna be a tough one. Sorry about the sound from the H260, but oof! Alright, no time to waste. Switching my attention up to the A7, boys. It does look like Guzao securing the very first elim for Alpha. And for the team itself, not a lot of contestation remaining here, so I'm guessing it was just probably a straggler away from his team. Learned his lesson the hard way. Everything sounds good? Thank you. Alright, I appreciate y'all for being here. Thank you so much. If we're having any sort of technical audio issues, please don't hesitate to let me know in the chat. Gonna get my attention down to what remains of Liquid. At this point, that's just gonna be Ash and Ding Ding here, and it does seem to be a bit of a 2-2 split for Sinners, probably trying to give that false sense of security to eschew, making me think that he might have a way of getting out of there. But realistically, we know better. This is a 2-2 split that centers placed very well. Multiple lines of sight on their opponent with Scarface and I believe that's Jazzy up here with them. Just waiting, biding their time for the right moment to strike. And elsewhere is on the board, no altercations happening yet. But as you can see, with Mafioso being a sneaky little water snake here, he might actually swim across or maybe run into members of Almost in the water. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are just now tuning in, this is round 1 of 5 for the day. We've got a lot more PUBG Mobile action ahead of you, but tons of money riding on the prize pool here. We got $1,500 up for grabs, an $800 first place prize. We got 400 to second, 200 to third, and 100 to fourth. So if you're wondering why are these teams playing so cautiously, well, that's why. And I don't really think we have any other altercations on the board yet. Now, I am going to just briefly turn my attention to the likes of Complex, just because this could be a bit of a stalemate here, or could be some time before we actually end up seeing the action unfold. But Complex Esports found themselves in a position where they are very likely to be trying to do a bridge cross. Now, for better or for worse, I could criticize that all day at this stage for kind of getting that late bridge cross, but you know, until we actually see them try to implement that, let's not throw too much shade. But if they do end up trying to cross in that way, they're going to find themselves in a bit of trouble, as we got members of Entity holding a bridge camp just on the opposite end. So currently, this is essentially going to be a battle for real estate on Military Island, trying to get that early real estate, that good prime positioning, and securing a point of cover where you can ideally lay low and sort of let the numbers dwindle, at least until that placement point bracket is met in the top 8 slots. Tell you what we're going to do is switch our attention once more to Digital Age. They are further down south, but there is one member, Zendry, a little further away from his team. It looks to be a 3-1 split, so this is clearly a scouting situation here. Just trying to relay any info he can, but he does have a potential proximity that could amount to a couple warning shots, maybe even a distance knock on members of Leviathan just off to his east. I don't think he has awareness of that just yet. Matter of fact, I don't think we even... Yeah, there they are. And a little bit of scouting being done by Leviathan as well. I see you in the chat, guys. Keep in mind, we are operating on a delay. I will tune into the teams that are in the thick of the action. You have my word on that. I'm not going to be playing any favorites. We got some shots being put out to Mafioso, and it is going to be a clean knock. Almost there. Gutsy with a beautiful takedown and not having to risk a limb of his life there. Just easy distance knocks, and unfortunately A7 Mafioso a bit caught off guard there, which is going to bring A7 down to a 3-piece of Gazao, Guess Who, and Sensation. But we know enough about Alpha 7 to say, you know, that is a team that is definitely worthy of an intimidation factor as a 3-piece, a 4-piece, a 2-piece. Heck, even as a solo, you don't want to rule them out of the equation. They can ruin someone's day. I believe we were supposed to have the Wolves competing as well here. Maybe, perhaps they've already been eliminated or did not make it here to this first round. Yep, it looks like I don't see any Wolves howling in round 1. But that zone shift is going to be pretty tough here. Sorry about that alt cam, you guys. That zone shift is going to be a pretty tough one here. Definitely the teams who haven't crossed the bridge at this stage, I wouldn't expect them to attempt it. But... and further up north in the dead zone, the same fight that has been raging on since the beginning of the match continues. We got Sensation taking a little bit of damage, actually. I'm not sure if that was vehicles or bullets, but guess who? A7 gets guessed on immediately. And Gazal returning the favor as Fate, after securing the knock, immediately brought down to the front zone. And unfortunately for the boys in XFORCE, it looks like they are getting X'd out here in round 1. Okay, gonna switch my attention a little further down south here. A bit of a spread still. I do believe we had someone asking to see CK. Now, while they might not be in the action just yet, I don't think we actually have any fights happening at the moment, so I don't see any harm. CK, as we mentioned, brought down to a 2-piece. They lost Hustle and Sue pretty early on, but doing very well as a duo here with 4 kills, 4 elims on the board. All 4 of those elims going to their 2 remaining players up, Vampire and Samar. So definitely not a team to brush under the table, even as a 2-piece. Tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna get eyes on JRZ. There's a member of JRZ. I believe it's Flo. Yeah, it's Flo. A little further away from his team. Not much, but with a line of sight on the worst angle he could possibly open up fire from, a low ground disadvantage, where essentially after he's knocked, if he's not able to get this positioning right here, if he's not, after he gets knocked, if he's not able to crawl there or go down the stairs, he's essentially done for. Whereas him aiming up at A7, the second he is able to secure a knock, they're going to be brought down to the prone zone and immediately out of his line of fire. So I don't really see any possible advantage of him engaging with that, especially when there's not very much chance of being able to secure the elim after the knock. Gazal just keeping the pressure on from high up. There's not really a lot that JRZ can do to counter that. As you can see, JRZ Esports trying to be as prepared as they could for that in-game to come with the hovercraft, trying to pull off the old PMPL X-Force strat, but unfortunately for them, Gazal cutting those plans short immediately. Now, I don't want to waste too much time here. I do believe we saw Velocity off in the feed here. We're going to get a line of sight on whatever's going on with Velocity. At this point, they are still a full 4-piece team, duking it out with none other than Complex Esports. We'll get Complex up on the alt cam right here and now. It looks like Complex trying to prioritize a rotation in the zone, but yep, they are being chased here and now. That is unfortunate for them. We see an Nuxify here getting in positioning with that one knock on Complex. It looks, oh, pardon me, 2 knocks on Complex. It's going to leave all the pressure down to Peralta now. Nash not likely to be revived in this time. Entity's lost in a little straggler here from Team Entity, taken down pretty quickly on, unfortunately for him, and that is going to spell a lot of trouble for what remains of Entity, Ace and Hunter. The other members of Entity are still here, and unfortunately for them, in a bit of a tussle with Velocity as well. It looks like everyone's going to be trying to prioritize zone, understandably so. We're going to switch our attention back to the fight on the bridge, where Peralta has to make his last stand against what remains of Velocity Esports. And Digital Age off in the distance. I do believe we saw them in the feed. We're going to get a brief line of sight. Make sure... oh, we got a close quarter battle here with the likes of... is that version 9? No, pardon me. That is 4 Sexy Frogs. Now, the Sexy Frogs, definitely not a team to be brushing under the table, especially after their Titan Series performances. Here we see it. It's a 2v2 push, and I honestly am not a big fan of this push here by Malo. It definitely seems like they're trying to keep one coin in their back pocket and have Rico available to evacuate if needed for placement, but at the same time, if you're not going to be pushing in with at least a 2-person team here, you're coming in at an immediate handicap disadvantage and not accounting for any unexpected approachers like Ace of Team Entity getting that off angle right then and there. Well, Rico driving out of the frying pan and into the fire, gets a liner on Ace, but unfortunately missing those shots and now taking a hailstorm of bullets from behind from what remains of the Frogs. At this point, we're down to about 2 Sexy Frogs. And briefly going to switch over to Velocity's perspective here. Oh, it looks like Anuxify, responsible for 6 of the team's elims, will get the Frogs up on the alt cam as well. Shots being put outward towards the hovercraft, but we know this X-Force strat, that thing takes a little bit more to take out of the equation. Barreling the car over, tumbling it, but not able to get the finish on Anuxify just yet. Neither team here is out of the picture. This is gonna be insane. Anuxify and Ace, and Anuxify steals the hovercraft! Anuxify steals it! What are we seeing? No way. No way. Well, that is probably his undoing. Oh, Anuxify with a risky finish does secure the finish right then and there. Talk about a change in the tides. Stealing the hovercraft from his opponents in Entity Gaming, getting the double, bringing himself up to 8 of the team's 11 elims. This is Velocity in full form already, right off the rip, hitting the ground running in match 1. Well, Anuxify not out of the thick of it yet. As you can see on the map, he's got a little bit of proximity to members of Golden Phyra. I tell you what we're going to do. We are going to get Phyra up on the alt cam. Okay, a little bit of a battle of patience here. Let's get up our eyes in the sky here. Anuxify finding himself a little bit of real estate cover here. Some walls in the sniper tower. Hard to pass up, especially even though it's on the border of the zone. That could probably be changing and shifting. He'll take what he can get as a solo. Well, Sensation, the final hope now, it looks like, with nades just barreling inwards. Will his team be able to crawl into the closet for a successful revive? If so, I would put it down to a huge error on BS's end. Broken Spirits should not allow any such revive, and it doesn't look like they're gonna. Choro keeping the pressure on here. Speedy taking a hefty load of damage in the distance, which I'm not sure if Teddy or Choro knows that these are 2 opposing teams here. So we've got currently Leviathan, Alpha 7, and the boys in BS here, pardon me, Broken Spirits, in a little love triangle of utilities, all the while with JRZ holding that back angle, waiting for any simple peaks, any offerings on a platter that might come. But oh, this is gonna be bad news for Teddy. Catching a line on Teddy here. Looks like almost in the distance. Let's catch a brief view on them. I'm not sure if they've oh, looks like almost there. Almost got screen time, but eliminated just a brief few moments before. And here's the shots onto Sensation. Sensation brought down to below half health. In desperate times, calling for desperate measures, going for the S12, but it's going to be the third party from Choro of Leviathan just across the street. And that's giving Sensation, the unintentional third party, his saving grace is his enemy. No time to waste. It looks like, yeah, we are getting a slaughterhouse here on the playing field. Members of Poison Esports up against the final, pardon me, not the final hope, one of the Golden Pirates. This is going to be Laughter. Laughter swallowing a hefty high-calorie serving of nade damage there. Brought down to below half health. Really praying that that smoke grenade holds up a little bit longer, just enshrouding him in what cover he can. And while we're praying for it, let's hope for a lucky nade, I guess. But no such luck afforded to him. In the distance, Alpha 7 eliminated, but not before acquiring some hefty points and getting some placement points to add on to it. And we are here at our final moments of Stage 7 for Round 1 of the XLN Community Cup Finals, Day 1. Laughter just swallowing damage from every which way, finding the grace of PUBGMOBILE above here to get a brief few seconds to heal up. These dead vehicles are all that's separating him between life and lobby here. But as you can see, Lee cooking up Molotov here, going to try to make Laughter a Roman candle here. No such luck. Laughter engaging with I guess whoever was attacking this team. Ultimately, the Poison Boys finally do get that landing nade, taking them out of the equation. Probably used up a hefty amount of their utilities in the process. But Lee pushing forward regardless. And it's up against Fall here of the Phyras. And unfortunately, it looks like the Digital Age boys across the way are going to be able to snag that just before being eliminated. And that is that. Ladies and gentlemen, Poison Esports, let's give them some credit here where credit is due. Taking first place, not doing it with a overwhelming number of eliminations, 5 elims on the board, but when you add those 10 placement points into the equation, a 15-point gain the first match of finals is nothing to wag your finger at. And same can be said for Digital Age. Not a lot of elim-intensive strategies implemented in match 1, but that's to be expected. Still got plenty more matches of PUBG Mobile action ahead to kind of stretch their legs out. 9 more matches to go over the next 2 days. The Phyra boys in third with 4 elims between Fall and Laughter. Leviathan in fourth with all 3 of their elims coming from Choro. Not bad for entering the match as a 3-piece. JRZ in fifth with 7. We got Alpha 7. They not quite the elimination count that I was expecting to see, but a little bit of placement points to add on to their 5 elims. It's not the start they would have liked. It's not a terrible start, and it's something that they can easily bounce back from. But Velocity, give these boys credit. Just, I mean, out for blood from the very get-go. With Kuzi, Anuxify, and Lynx providing a whopping 11 elims between the 3 of them. Add to that a little sliver of placement points. A very healthy start for Velocity as well. Broken Spirits in 8th with 5, almost there. In 9th with 4. We got the 4 Sexy Frogs in 10th with 2. The boys in CK coming in 11th with 5 between Vampire and Samar. Entity in 12th with a big old onion. Liquid dripping on down into 13th with 4 elims, 3 of which go to Ding. We got CX Complex Esports in 14th with 0. 15th going to the Sinners with all 3 going to Scarface. XFORCE X'd out in 16th with 1 elim from Fate. iNCO in 17th with 2 from Vitali. Version 9 in 18th with 0. And lastly, GTS in 19th with 0. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's just one match down, done, and dusted. But we still have 4 more matches to go for the day. So stick around. We'll be back at you in just a brief few short moments with more PUBG Mobile action in the XLN Community Cup Finals, Day 1. Be back soon. Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to round 2 of the XLN Community Cup Finals, Day 1. Poison Esports definitely setting the tone in round 1, but what's going to happen when we change up that scenery to a little bit more of destruction in the desert, add a little bit more suspense in the sand? I'm trying to come up with some good puns for this, but obviously Miramar presents a different set of obstacles, as we know to be the case with PUBG Mobile. Now, with a flight path that is basically perfectly centralized, it's about as good of a start as our participants can hope for, really leaving them with a lot of compounds and cities to choose from right off the rip. So what does that mean for us, the viewer? Potentially a slower start, maybe a slower first half of the match, as these teams definitely may have a decent amount of space to loot up and get properly equipped before taking on these fights. But even as I say it, catching a line on the boys in Liquid Esports, we find them in fairly close proximity to the 4 sexy frogs. As you can see, the frogs already finding weapons off the rip. Snow with the AK-47, Furiosa, Uzi in hand, Problem with an ACE to work with, and this is going to be one of those standstills, I do believe. Now, I only say this, you know, with that kind of spectator 2020 hindsight that you get from watching way too much Titan series and PMSLs. But the problem I have here with this, you know, Picado spread is that even when they get these knocks, the push across the street is pretty unlikely. It's just a very vulnerable push to secure that thirst. So I think that this could be a situation where both these teams are kind of holding position for quite some time. But it looks like we actually might have a couple other points of congestion. Yeah, I do see the boys in CK not far from Complex Esports. Now, I remember someone in the chat asking to get some camera time on CK. So we got Vampire here close to Complex's Nash. Now, it looks like Nash is the only one of Complex Esports here, and he is completely unaware. And down he goes, dropped like a stock in 2009. But almost there, off in the feed here. It looks like they are already putting some work in. Almost there is going to be team number 9. Team number 9. Let's catch a line of sight on what all is happening in that region. And it looks like, even as I said it, I accidentally skimmed through the previous altercation here where the frogs are duking it out with Liquid. And Lux, one of the few frogs with health, is able to secure the takedown on Ding. And now this is going to be a world of hurt for Eshu of Liquid Esports, the final hope for his team. Holding position with nothing but Uzis and UMPs. You know, if you got to make your final stand, a UMP 45 is not the worst CQC to have in hand. But up against the likes of an S12 or a DBS, it'll be a quick song. Eshu getting some pretty decent damage in there, but not enough to secure the knock. And at that point, it's all for naught. He does secure the knock on the push, trying to put out a pre-fire. This is going to be a battle where neither opponent has help. Hey, you know, say what you want, but Eshu being a solo there made not a terrible final stand. But that does leave us with a little bit of a standstill. Now, remember what I said at the beginning of the match. You know, just due to the geography of this map, it's just so open and vulnerable from so many angles. And it is an 8x8 map. It's extremely large. So having that much open land in front of you basically means that you have to have your head on a 360-degree swivel at all times, because, yeah, even if you have no enemies in your close proximity, this is the map where you need to be on high alert for snipers, and, you know, you can get taken out at any point in any match, any map from a sniper, but on Miramar, you just know that it's a lot more vulnerable. All right, so the boys in Digital Age going to work out of this potential cluster here, and we're going to go tune our attention to, I guess we'll go a little further down south, where velocity is still pretty darn close. I say that with some leniency to Complex Esports, and the reason I say kind of close, you know, or saying it with some leniency, I say this every time with Miramar, but it's like an old co-caster I used to work with said, DKZA Gaming, if you guys know him. With Miramar, it's like driving on the interstate and looking in your rear view mirror. Objects may appear closer or further away than they actually are. Alright, well, Anuxify, the heavy hitter for velocity in round 1, putting a lot of bullets outwards towards Wishy of Complex, taking Wishy down to below half health. Not gonna be like to secure any thirsts here, though. Wishy does probably have an escape plane with that monster truck. And gonna probably try to dip out of dodge right here and now. But oh my goodness! Shot in the back there and taken down to literally 5% health. Surviving by the hair on his chin. Literally, that is... oh my gosh. A second shot at life there for Wishy of Complex Esports. And honestly, I feel a little bad for whoever did that damage on velocity. Alright, gonna tune in my attention on the alt cam to the Golden Phyra boys. Actually, we'll get it on Sinners, their closest opponent. Now, I say that... oh, as I say that now, we see iNCO in the feed here. Let's catch a line. It looks like Vitaly was able to secure an elimination. He's up against none other than Wiz of Almost There. We tuned in at the right time as he just sinks that battleship. Calculating the trigonometry, and Mark the Stewart himself couldn't have cooked that nade better. Ice, the final hope for Almost There. And boy, oh boy, I hate to be the dad joke cracking commentator that I know it's not going to even be worthy of a laugh, but I gotta say it. But if your name is Ice, you're not going to survive long on your own in the desert. Ayo. Yeah, I want you all to know that I know it wasn't funny. I knew it wasn't going to be funny. And for some reason, I couldn't stop myself from saying it. What did we just witness? For some reason, he's emoting. Alright, well, we got some action happening in the Elim feed. We'll get that on the alt cam. It looks like Digital Age squaring off with Velocity. At this point, Velocity has lost SK Bot. It's down to Lynx, Kuzi, and Anuxify. Anuxify putting some warning shots out from the high ground, but finding himself in a situation where he's outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. I probably am going to switch out to that. Yeah, let's switch out to that here on the main cam, and I will occupy this on the alt. Okay, well, crisis averted, it looks like, for Velocity, potentially. It looks like they have their escape route here in hand. So just want to make sure I'm not missing anything else. Oh, let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like we got a third-party potential here coming in from the likes of Gthesis Esports, potentially. I don't know what just happened there. There we go. MD, 6X, M4 in hand. Putting some warning shots out there. It's actually going to be Lara who secures the elimination. But the fight that they were hoping to engage with there, it's not like they're leaving empty-handed, but the opponent is dipping out of dodge and prioritizing a rotation into this new zone. And as you can see, Gthesis is no exception. They also are going to need to work their way in. Now, remember what I said at the very beginning about, well, you know what? Withdraw that. I do think that the situation with Ice is still going to linger on, though. Get our attention here on CK once more. This is the Celebrity Killers. It does look like, oh, yep, we got some shots. Hustler taking a hefty load of damage as he tries to cross the street and reunite with his teammates. Those shots are going to be from none other than Digital Age, but revenge coming from none other than teammate Samar. taking Zendry out of the equation and securing the elimination to follow. And this is going to bring CK up to 2 elims, and they are still a full 4-piece here. All the while, Vampire finding himself with a bit of a problematic situation of his own there. No time to waste, though. Alpha 7 going to be seen on the alt cam here, facing off with Entity. We're going to get Entity here on the main cam and get both sides of this altercation. At this point, it's down to Hunter and Hunter alone. Low ground disadvantage, but a 1v2 altercation, potentially a 1v3 against A7. And he takes Sensation down to extremely low health, but not enough to seal the deal, unfortunately. And it's going to have to be a very cautious flank rotation here. But he might be able... Oh, the surprise factor has been unfortunately abandoned. Compromised, I should say. And Hunter going to try to use this opportunity to secure that vehicle a little bit of cover. But boy, swallowing so much damage in the process. Entity given a second shot at life, but what can they make of it? Hunter becomes the hunted, and now it's down to Ace and Nexus. Oh, it's actually Ace with the S12. Securing the takedown, evening the odds just a bit here. Well, Ace gets aced out of the equation right then. Mafioso dropping down, suppressed S12 in hand, and it's quick work with him and Sensation and Gazao just annihilating Entity. Alright, so where's our next point of contestation? Well, it does look like we got a good odds of it happening right here between Velocity and the crew in Gthesis. Actually, it also looks like Gthesis and Velocity were not the only two teams there. Yeah, it looks like members of, pardon me, CK were just underneath. It would be Samar there. As you can see, GT is a little bit preoccupied, not overly eager to compromise this compound cover of theirs, and I don't blame them. But we got about a quarter of the zone being occupied by water, looking like it might be an inland shift here, and so very likely not going to be too much of an issue as the zone shrinks. But with Samar creeping in a little bit closer to the opposition, he's finding himself close to the enemies in version 9. At this point, version 9 is down to God Kid and Don't Look. Alright. Gonna get God Kid on the main screen here. Put Vampire on the alt screen. And it's a battle of patience here. Oh, but Enuxify with a return back to the previous stomping grounds for a little unintentional third-party assistance to God Kid. And that is going to be all that he needs for God Kid to retreat back to a position, reunite with his teammate. But oh, now the shots from Enuxify. It's got to be from Enuxify. Yes, it is. It is. Let's catch him on the main cam here. It's actually him and his teammates. Look at him. 8x SLR in hand and putting the damage and the pressure out there. Kuzi and Lynx are actually the ones who acquired the takedowns, though. But all this noise and commotion of that SLR is basically putting a honing beam out in the sky. And like sharks in the water smelling the blood, Alpha 7 creeping a little bit closer just to survey the situation, see what they can see. Oh, I saw it on the feed. We got the boys in X-Force going off in the distance. Where are you, X-Force? I see you. Let's get them on the main cam here. They are squaring off. It's going to be a push up against Leviathan. Leviathan will be on the alt cam here. Leviathan downed a member very quickly as Choro is brought down to the prone zone and quickly eliminated to follow. Fate looks like he is in hot pursuit. We got an OJ Simpson car chase. 999 keeping the pressure on as the boys in Leviathan try their best as a two-piece to escape the clutches of XFORCE. Now, XFORCE didn't have the first round start that they were hoping for. Currently only with one elim to their name, but plenty more PUBG Mobile action to come. Lots of time to acquire those down the road here. All right, we got the Phyras and the Frogs squaring off, and down goes Snow. Snow isn't going to last long in the desert either. Oh gosh, I'm cringing. Phyra, also a three-piece with one member down. Dom's down, leaving it up to Rizzy and Fall. Rizzy trying to get a preliminary frag knock. No such luck, but Flux of the Frogs coming in with this off angle here. This is well played and strategized here by the Frogs. Just surrounding the Phyras on 3 different angles. This is going to be a slaughter if they implement this correctly. And look at this. Scarface of Sinners off in the distance against JRZ. Oof! We're going to get JRZ standoff here on the alt cam. And look, it is going to be a world of hurt here for the Phyras. We see it now. The desperate revive attempt. And boy, that candle is burning bright. Boom goes the dynamite, all too literally. And back to the lobby they go. But it did not come without a price. You know what? There might not be 4 sexy frogs now. They're 2 sexy frogs. They lost half of the sexy frog base. Now they're just half as sexy. All right. DK of XFORCE, along with the entirety of his team, just annihilating what remained of Sinners right then and there. And XFORCE looking pretty strong now, climbing up another 3 elims, bringing themselves up to a total of 4 with a full 4-piece still on the board. But the boys in Digital Age up in the mix as we see it against Velocity as Rico secures the thirst on Jacuzzi. Now, Anuxify of Velocity will be on the alt cam here for both sides of the altercation. Well, not anymore. We got Alpha 7 in the mix here. We're going to switch our attention to Alpha 7 squaring off against the boys in CK. All the while, Leviathan just beneath them. Hustle, the final hope now for CK. And low ground disadvantage. And on top of that, a shotgun, that close quarter combat annihilator. I say it time and time again, shotguns sound the same in every language, and they say the same message. Back to lobby. Alright, Leviathan, their final hope here is about to be undone here. Even if he was able to secure that knock, he probably won't be alive long enough to get the thirst on him. Oh, the bounce nade was almost insane there. But all for naught as Sensation gets that line. This is going to spell trouble here. This has got to be the end of the road for Leviathan, as ALGG is got 3 members of A7 in front. It's a 2-1-1 split, or a 2-1 split potentially. And bye-bye. All right. Well, Alpha 7 definitely looking like the Alpha 7 we come to expect, know, and love. Sitting strong with a healthy 8 elims, down to a 3-person team, but hey, remember what I said last match? You can't rule them out as a trio, as a duo, or even as a solo. They're just one of those teams where the name precedes them. Their reputation precedes them. All right, well, we see A7 working their way into this new zone. Going to be holding the zone edge here, not trying to present any easy opportunities to the opponents, but the boys in Broken Spirits. Are their spirits broken, or are they going to get out of this altercation? Oh, pardon me. It's not Broken Spirits. It's Velocity at this point down to Lynx. Lynx making his final stand up against the boys in Poison Esports. Poison Esports, one of those teams that just, I very rarely see them in the Elam feed, but they are clearly constantly putting in work and getting caster cursed at the same time by me. Lynx, the solo, making his final stand, but is it the final stand? He secures a knock, but he's got to make magic happen quickly. He cannot allow any revives to happen, and boom, nades just crashing in front and behind, and it's going to go to Digital Age with a third-party utility steal. Looks like Digital Age is not done yet. Now engaging and turning the boys in Poison. Remember, Poison was the winners of round 1. Well, they're turning him into a peanut butter and trouble sandwich, and Poison is definitely the peanut butter. Broken Spirits and Digital Age really keeping this pressure on them. The irony is that Digital Age themselves are just a duo. Well, Broken Spirits do secure a takedown, and it's going to be the Thirst on to Lee. And that's going to put Candy Joe in just a world of trouble here. All the while, on the alt cam, I'll pull it up right now, it looks like the final one of the final hopes for Complex Esports doing work on Alpha 7. We got Wishy and Peralta here holding a building and trying to finish off what remains of A7 Sensation. However, just throwing a sensational nade and taking out 2 birds with 1 stone. Boom goes the dynamite.
And boom goes the dynamite.
All right. XFORCE in very close proximity to the boys in iNCO. Now this could be a grudge match returning from Titan Series Premier Finals. We're hearing some shots in the distance. I want to check the map on my alt cam here, make sure we're not missing anything, but Fate is up in the mix here, cooking a preliminary nade. Vitali could be the one to deal with it, but no time to stick on both sides of the same fight because the 4 Sexy Frogs and GTS are squaring off in the distance. On the alt cam, you'll be able to see it. Flux cooking up another nade here. It looks like Lara and Mo are all that remains of Gthesis, and with a low ground disadvantage, relying on smoke cover here to shield them, but Mo taken down right then and there, leaving Lara as the final hope for Gthesis. All the while, Fate keeping this pressure onto iNCO. We got Aegis picking up a utility, but quickly faltering on it. Fate putting some warning shots out. Ends up probably intimidating his own teammate. We're going to tune in to Vitali's perspective. This nade constantly being prepared and bailed on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're down to our final 5 teams spread across 12 people here. The next few moments are going to be absolute bloodbath warfare. On the alt cam, we see Lara getting the takedown on Mafioso. Well shot, well struck, and oh, XFORCE going to add a little pain onto it here. DK closing in on Nico as Vitali cooks a preliminary nade. Will he stick to it? Will he not? Oh, he aims it out at Fate, and it does sink the battleship. That's going to put Legend in a world of trouble here if he's not able to hold off Aegis and Vitali. A little pot committed to that nade right there. I feel like he probably could have pre-fired it, but regardless, Legend. Oh, I thought it was going to be good. He pre-fired, got the first shots in, but ultimately taken out. XFORCE down to DK and 999 pushing in, and XFORCE X'd out right then and there. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a 2-1-1 split here. 4 people remain across 3 teams. A7, iNCO, and 1 Sexy Frog left. Oh man, man. This is going to be a tough one. Essentially, each of these teams is just waiting for one thing in the elim feed. The first thing that they see. All they have to do is stay alive. If you're Sensation or Flux, you're thinking, okay, all I got to do is outlive the other solo. I just need to stay alive a little longer, and it's free placement points. But oh man, iNCO clearly aware that they have the numbers in their favor, and Vitaly is gonna push towards Flux. Now this is obvious. Yeah, I mean. Unfortunately, Vitaly making some rookie mistakes there and turning his back on the shack that he was suspicious of. And now, Aegis of iNCO with no health to speak of. Wow. Unfortunately, this was a situation where iNCO had the advantage in their favor, and a little bit of hesitation goes a long way, especially when you're up against the likes of Sensation, Mafioso, Guess Who, and Gizao. Alpha 7 living up to their name and proving themselves to be the alphas of round 2 with a disgusting 17 eliminations. Just to put that into perspective, ladies and gentlemen, that's essentially 1/4 of the playing field was eliminated by one team. Let's also give credit to the 4 sexy frogs. Even with 3 members, between 3 of their members, Lux, Snow, and Furiosa, were able to put up 11 elims. Add to that the 8 or 9 placement points that they're going to get on the board. It's a very healthy point gain for round 2. iNCO in 3rd with 7. XFORCE in 4th with 5. GTS in 5th with 2 from Lara. Digital Age in 6th with 4. Broken Spirits in 7th with 5. 4 of which came from Speedy. We got Poison having a little bit tougher of a go of it this time, and actually I'm going to say a lot tougher of a go. Even though they made the placement point bracket, they get 1 placement point and 0 elims, and all that point gain from round 1 is definitely a lot of that leverage has been undone here in round 2. Complex story here, because 0 elims with no placement points is going to be a tough one. That's going to be a complex situation to bounce back from. Ayo. Let's see. Velocity 10th with 4. Leviathan in 11th with 1. Version 9 in 12th with 0. CK in 13th with 3. The Sinners in 14th with 2. Golden Phyra in 15th with 4. JRZ 16th with 2. Almost there in 17th with 3. Entity in 18th with 1. And 19th dripping all the way down. And the last place is Liquid with 0. Alrighty, ladies and gents, that is 2 matches down, done, and dusted. But stick around. We'll be back at you in just a few short moments with round 3 of the PUBG Mobile XLN. Probably the PUBG Mobile XLN Community Cup Finals Day 1 in just a few short moments. Be back soon. Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I know it, I know it. One moment here. Let me get something taken care of. So apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We had an emulator crash right at the start of the match, but we are back in. So welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to round 3 of the XLN Community Cup Finals Day 1. We are kicking off round 3 with the Rumble in the Jungle. I don't know how many more times we'll get to have it, but let's appreciate it while we got it. And already we got Digital Age up against the likes of the 4 Sexy Frogs here in Paradiso Resort. And we will get the opposition of Digital Age up on the alt cam here. Pardon me, of the Frogs on the alt cam here. Oh, Age getting a takedown on Lux right then and there. It's going to be a desperate revive by Problem. And Snow holding off the opposition of Male. Just a little bit off there. All right. Well, no time to linger here because Complex Esports is squaring off in the distance, and we're going to get both altercations here on the board. Oh, pardon me, that is incorrect. Complex losing a member. Tuffo is down and out. I'm keeping the Digital Age 4 Sexy Frogs fight on the alt cam here as well for everyone. Yeah, this is bad news bears for what remains of Complex Esports, Nash and Peralta. Looks like Velocity has already eliminated half of their player base here. All the while, Poison and Entity going off in the distance. But look at this rotation here. Yeah, well, Complex does not want that smoke here. We're going to get out and go tune into the boys in Poison. See if they're able to build off some of the work that they were putting in round 1. Looks like they secured 1 elim on the board, and what remains of Entity is going to probably be bowing out. Understandably so. JRZ at Big Bad Booty Camp with their closest opponent being XFORCE up the hill, or maybe even a member of iNCO. But the Frogs are finally in the thick of it. Furiosa taken down like a bad habit right then and there. Problem realizes he's got a problem on his hands, so he's got a solution in the form of a DBS, and oof, one shot, one and done. Back to the prone zone and back to the lobby you go. Problem and Lux are the final hopes. 2 Sexy Frogs remain. And you know Digital Age is saying frog legs chase like chicken, but no, they do not. You will not get them. The 4 Sexy Frogs going to come out victorious and without losing a single member in the process. That's going to bring them back up to a full 4-piece with 4 elims on the board. It's a great start for them, for sure. All right, tuning our attention a little bit off to the northeast where Leviathan going to be trying to work their way past the opposition in Gthesis, and it looks like they were able to do so without any contestation. I see members of CK squaring off with Almost. Now, Almost, a team that has really been putting the work in terms of reaching their in-game goals here, always finding themselves at those in-game finishes for the most part, and we'll see if they're able to build off some of that, maybe become a little bit more aggressive in their confrontations in the process. But they're making sure that they cover their strengths here, play to their strengths, which is at the very least getting those placement points. Well, Gthesis putting some work in on Leviathan, bringing Leviathan down to their final hope. Andre team desperately trying to make his great escape. You don't often see vehicle pushes, you know, working out successfully on Sanhok, but Desperate times call for desperate measures, but out of the frying pan and into version 9's PHYR right then and there. Well, version 9 now gonna have to be drawing their attention to the fight between A7 and Gthesis, and it looks like A7 made some very, very quick work out of Gthesis, catching him off guard. Oh, I withdraw that previous statement. Now the Frogs catching A7 unawares, and this is bad news bears. With Sensation and Gazao down, it's going to put a world of pressure here onto Guess Who to secure these revives. And I got to ask, where is their teammate? Their off-angle holder is Mafioso, way, way off-angled here. It could be a risky one. He's so far out, but no time to waste. Liquid facing off with Entity. We see Neon, Ding, and a shoe remaining here. Neon with a takedown on Nexus OP right before our eyes. Oh, Ding is out of the equation. It's a shoe and Neon remaining up against Ace, and Ace alone. On the alt cam, we got the Frogs and A7 continuing, with Problem being the final Frog left. And he definitely has a problem. And it looks like he actually might even have a saving grace inbound here. Frog finding a second shot at life to revive his teammates, because it looks like members of Sinners drove up to the party to distract A7. Tell you what, we're going to go to that on the main cam. Gazao pushing forward against Scarface of Sinners. UMP-45 in hand, and oh, I hate to say it, tunnel visioning and seeing red a little too much there. Sensation, the final hope now for A7. And in a situation where you maybe would expect him to kind of lay low, nah, not the case. He is still throwing those preliminary nades. He knows that he's got a real third-party opportunity, but if he takes it, it could spell the end of the road for A7 in round 3. And, you know, you got to weigh your options. He's going to go prioritize a revive. Hopefully he's able to stick it. We'll see. Flux pushing forward towards Papi Triste of Sinners with the DBS in hand. It sounds the same in every language, but oof! A shotgun S12 speaks that same language, and it says, back to lobby you go. Furioso, on the other hand, is able to come out victorious and secure at least one revive here, potentially two, before what I would imagine is an inevitable push from the two-piece of Alpha 7. And I guess I imagined incorrectly. Lux of the Frogs still with a bit of a high ground. And they have the option to dip out if they really want. They've got their vehicles as escape routes. Gonna pull up the map here just for a brief moment. Get a lay of the land, so to speak. Alright. That zone has shifted, and it's going to be orienting itself around Boot Camp. Boot Camp looks to be the only city completely in this new zone. So a huge chunk of these teams going to have to work their way in. And I will say, though, it does appear like there's a pretty decent amount of options, even in this new shrunken zone, to choose from. So it could be a bit of a standstill until the next phase, but as I say it, Sensation securing a knock on the board. This time, A7 engaging with those four sexy Frogs. Mafioso, DBS in hand, and putting the work in. Off in the alt feed, I believe I saw Wishy getting a takedown. We're going to pull that up on the alt cam on the bottom right. And it looks like, yep, Wishy pushing dangerously forward here towards members of Poison Esports. Now, Poison, the winners of round 1, certainly not a team to be taken lightly. We'll get Poison up on the alt cam. At this point, Lee and P4 here are the only members up. Candy Joe and Lowry have been knocked. As I say it, Lowry brought back up, revived, and is able to get a heal off, actually. This is going to be a really tough situation. Stuck in between a rock and a hard place in this 2-1-1 split that Poison Esports is implementing. I really like their strategy here, but Wishy trying to get a preliminary nade knock here. If he can, that could be their saving grace. Even one knock could be all that they need to sort of change the tides here. Wishy catching that off angle, and if he honestly had maybe timed a little bit more patience in there and just found his opponent, aimed in, who knows what could have happened. But ultimately, all for naught. Easy to say with spectator hindsight being 2020. We got a horse, ladies and gentlemen, and it goes to Ace of Entity Esports. He is the last of his name here, and that is going to be unfortunate because he's going to probably need to lay low for quite some time if he wants any shot at placement points on the board. Going to tune in one more time here to this map, get a better feel of the lay of the land here. Definitely a pretty decent spread. We see CK off in the feed. It looks like Samar putting some work in. Let's get a brief line on him. Yep, they are squaring off with the Phyra boys. And Samar, the extremely aggro push from Phyra, coming out for nothing as Room is sent back to the lobby. And adding on to it, Rizzy is brought down to the prone zone with the S12, and Samir is laying out an onslaught here. He's responsible for both of the team's elims, and before prioritizing a thirst on Rizzy, he barely makes it to his fallen teammate Hustle, but he is sticking it. This is Golden Phyra, or pardon me, this is CK in full form here. Pardon me about that. Celebrity Killers really shining there thanks to Samar's 1v2. But that still leaves one Phyra remaining. Fall. Now the strategy certainly has to have changed for him. Coming from a bit of a elimination hunting strat to now camping so hard he probably deserves a North Face sponsorship. All right, off on the main feed, we're going to tune in. XFORCE in the mix. 0 elims on the board, but very likely to crash any moment into Poison Esports. And, oh, Poison and XFORCE driving right up to none other than Velocity. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a slaughterhouse here at Boot Camp, ladies and gentlemen. Getting a lay of this land here. Fate in the mix with JRZ. DBS in hand. All right, the free camp is going to be on the bottom right here, so we can just have a look at Boot Camp, make sure we're not missing anyone pulling up. All right, with Legend down, it's going to put the pressure on 9, Fate, and DK. iNCO, still a full 4-piece, holding position. I like the 2-2 split of JRZ, really pressuring XFORCE. XFORCE probably was feeling good about their positioning, but realistically, they are sandwiched on 4 sides here now that members of Liquid have pulled up and are occupying the southernmost portion of Boot Camp. Nades out from 9 towards JRZ. No such connecting damage there. We got Broken Spirit off in the distance, getting a takedown. We'll probably pull that up on the alt cam now. There's, yeah, Alpha 7 Sensation going off in the distance. Even as a solo, we'll pull that up on the alt cam. Cooking up a nade for what remains of Broken Spirits. Really breaking that spirit, so to speak. Entity going after almost there in the distance. Pulling that up right now. Entity, I believe, is just been eliminated in retaliation. And, oh my goodness, Sensation, I believe that was just the thirst. No, it's not. It's an additional knock. JRZ really in a world of hurt here. Throwing off any utilities to hold off XFORCE at bay. but it is going to be a situation where they are essentially outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. It's going to take a little bit of a caster curve. That's what it's going to take right there. Well, JRZ, while it may seem like our boy here has some backup, he really doesn't. His two teammates are a little spread off, and in most situations it wouldn't be too far to assist, but the fact that so many teams here at boot camp, I think it's going to leave him basically stranded alone. And Velocity going after members of Poison Esports. Poison Esports brought down to Lee alone, and it's a vehicle explosion for the finish. We're hearing a lot of shots being put out by iNCO, holding off A7 Sensation. Oh, all the while, it is finally happening between the likes of XFORCE and their closest opposition here, version 9. Actually, XFORCE version 9 and Velocity. And that is it for version 9. Godkid and Don't Look taken out by a Nuxify then and there. So, ladies and gentlemen, of the 9 teams remaining, we have all of them squeezed in at Big Bad Booty Camp. On the alt cam, see an A7 Sensation as a solo creeping forward. Fate keeping the pressure out on almost there. Knight taking a lot of damage, brought down to below half health. Getting a little bit of compound cover and going to try to heal up before this engagement here with, honestly, CK, Frogs, a bunch of teams almost there. Look at this Vampire trying to be a sneaky grass snake here. And if there's ever a place for a snake to thrive, it's the jungle. But, oof, iNCO just laying out a slaughterhouse. Look at them. No elims on their name yet, though. Does this mean that every knock that I've seen has been stolen, or have I not actually seen a knock from them? Well, Vampire being bled dry from none other than the blue zone. Almost ice. Oh, almost switched to him in time, but almost not. And now he's back to lobby. The last hope for almost there. Nice. Trying to make his last stand, and boy, that zone edging right on his back, but not quite there yet. iNCO is stepping the aggression up, getting their first elim on the board. Vitali brought down in retaliation, but iNCO not letting their foot off the pedal. Bruno going to try to secure the revive while Aegis and McGrellin hold off the opposition. It really looks like their closest threat is just the solo Knight. All the while, XFORCE a bit distracted by the 2-1 split of JRZ. JRZ probably wouldn't be too bad off to worry about Team Liquid either. Knight finished off right there and then. JRZ just awaiting that inevitable iNCO push. Is that XFORCE actually getting the line on him? I'm not sure who secured that knock on iNCO. But boy, Legend is in the mix. Legend and Fate have pushed in. Fate cooking up a preliminary nade. Neon in the alt feed being taken down. iNCO is just laying out a slaughterhouse. JRZ. Hawiwi is down, brought down to the prone zone, relying on Lewis. All the while, in the main feed, XFORCE and Velocity squaring off here. 999 up at the forefront, and he does finish off Kuzi then and there. And that, just like that, ladies and gentlemen, brought down to 4 teams here, but 9 not out of the thick of it yet. There's still one Velocity member beneath them here, and that's going to be Lynx with a Nuxify cooking up a preliminary nade to try to get iNCO down. All right, 9 able to heal himself back up and trying to boost up before this inevitable push from the low ground holders in Velocity. iNCO really biding their time here, not giving that sliver of peek. Oh, Legend with a beautifully thrown nade. Fate taken down as he drops in. This is going to put all the pressure on Force and X-Force Legend and 999. Having to go out of the safety zone. Legend desperately trying to hold position. And oh my gosh, Force and Bot at each other's throats, and it's going to be a JRZ third party. JRZ with no health, finding himself up against the likes of iNCO, Vitali, and Ashu. Or pardon me, Aegis. Oh, the drop down DBS finisher by Aegis. Beautifully done. Ladies and gentlemen, just like that, our final 3 teams remain. It's going to be iNCO, X-Force, and Velocity in a 2-1-1 split here. Oh, pardon me, a 2-on-1 fight. Yada, yada. Now, as I say it, Caster cursing it down to a 2v2, a fair fight to end round 3. All right, Aegis, the final hope now in a 1v2. And from the rooftop, the job is done. And ladies and gentlemen, any way you look at it, that is game over. Let's give credit to where credit is due. Velocity stepping up their momentum here and acquiring a beautiful first place finish that they worked their butts off to get. I mean, talk about an insane in-game. A boot camp finish with 9 teams. Golly. Velocity performed beautifully there, doing so with a very healthy 11 elims. That's a, that's a 21-point gain in round 3 alone. Chef's kiss. iNCO coming in second with 7 elims. X-Force in third with 5. JRZ in fourth with 4. Liquid in fifth with 5. Almost there in sixth with 5. Seventh going to CK with all 3 belonging to Samar. Alpha 7, 9 elims between 3 of their players, getting the very end of the placement point bracket in 8th place. 4 Sexy Frogs, 9th place with 8 elims. Version 9 and 10th with 2. Poison, another rough go, 11th with 4. Golden Phyra in 12th with a big onion. We got Broken Spirit. Their spirit is hopefully not broken, but a 13th place with 1 elim finish could be the job to do it. Into the end, 14th with 2 from Ace. Complex in 15th with 0. Sinners in 16th with 1 from Scarface. GTS, the Gthesis boys, in 17th with 2. Leviathan in 18th with 0. And 19th, Digital Age, Big Ol' Onion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is 3 rounds down, done, and dusted. Stick around. We're going to be back at you with round 4 or 5 of the PUBG Mobile XLN Community Cup Finals Day 1 in just a few short moments. Be back soon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to round 4 of 5 of the PUBG Mobile XLN Community Cup Finals Day 1. Before we get too much further into it, let's go into the results after round 3. So, as it currently stands, A7 with a 7-point lead over the silver medal holders in Velocity. iNCO in third, but neck and neck with the Frogs at 27 points. So the top three of the top 4 positions are only separated by 10 points here. 6 points behind the Frogs is Poison with the 21 points. Most of those points that they got there were acquired in round 1. XFORCE only 1 point behind them with 20, and so on and so forth. But no time to waste, because we are already thrown back into the thick of it, where it all began, the very first map ever introduced to PUBG Mobile, Erangel. So this is a real opportunity for teams that may not have performed as they would have liked in round 1 to circle back and correct those errors and see what they can make happen here for round 4. Having a look at the map as it currently stands, it's not the most ideal flight path here. It's definitely gonna leave a lot of the northern maps, cities, and compounds out of reach without the assistance of a vehicle. But we can see, looks like Digital Age and Golden Phyra might be occupying the boot camp area together. That'll be interesting if they land close with one another. Yeah, and it looks like they're gonna. Catching eyes, Laughter dropping Lobster with the gang. And it looks like his teammates are a little bit further out. This is... a Kar 98 is not the weapon that he was hoping for to pull off a squad wipe with. Alright, and catching the lay of the land with the map feed here, it does look like we might get some contestation between members of Velocity and CK potentially. Also the 4 Sexy Frogs and JRZ dropping pretty close to one another as well. And already we see a hovercraft there. Yep, we're going to switch out to the Frogs, and we'll put this on the alt feed here. Whoop. Wow, the Frogs, did they just eliminate JRZ? No, they did not. Not entirely, at least. They did take out Hawiwi, but that'll be that for now. Back to the crisis at hand here with Digital Age and Golden Phyra. It does look like it's going to be a dip out of Dodge scenario for the Age boys. Maybe. I say that, however, we can see Monteo here, or Anointed here, pardon me. Sorry, the letters are tough for me to read. A little close for comfort, but no time to waste as Velocity squaring off as well. And whoever they squared off with, it was with CK, but Velocity acting in the way that only a coming off of a chicken dinner can, you know, just hyper aggressive and squad wipe in the lobby right off the rip, looking for blood. And unfortunately for the boys in CK, it ended up not panning out so well. Poison off in the feed. Now, Poison is a team who's been a bit of a mixed bag. I believe entering the day, this match at around 6th place thanks to a very strong round 1 finish, but having a lot more trouble here the remainder of the event. Candy Joe with a low ground disadvantage pushing upwards on He blocked it, and it is a takedown right then and there. Dressing like he's Coops from back in the day. Alright, well, this is a lot of trouble here for Poison. As you can see, P4 is downed, Lee sent back to lobby, and Lowry here with nothing but a pistol shotgun combo and nowhere to escape the clutches of Entity. And just that little sliver taking a bullet damage right then and there, just not taking him down a little bit more. Gonna switch my attention to version 9 here. Looks like they are up against a distance altercation with A7, And knowing what I know now, it is going to be a push from A7, very likely. Yep, Mafioso up close, God Kid, trying to hold the opposition off at bay, but with not a lot to utilize in terms of meds. And boy, he's got one opportunity to use a surprise factor. And if he screws that up, it is game 59 in round 4. Oh my goodness. Jack Lord here is barely escaping with the hair on his chin here in a ticking time bomb of a vehicle. 1 or 2 more successful bullet impacts on that car, I think, would have been enough to take him out. Digital Age, back in the thick of it, this time with the Phyra boys. And yep, it's gonna be anointed with a quick takedown on Room. All the while, we got Rizzy and Zendry just holding off opposite ends of this satellite or missile launching station. And here comes the push. Utilities outbound, chipping away at Rizzy's health, but Rizzy dishing out a lot more damage than he's taken. All the while, Alpha 7 off in the Elam feed, pulling them up on the alt cam right here and now. And Rizzy out of the equation just like that. Gonna switch my attention to A7 here on the main cam. Yeah, they're up against the likes of version 9, but it looks like Jack is ways off. Long gone, and understandably so. Going to try to carry on the name for the team, and at the very least acquire some placement points. Maybe a third-party elim still, if it, you know, presents itself. If the opportunity is thrown into his lap, maybe. Poison Esports having a rough go of it after round 1 here, and now down to half their starting lineup, reliant on Lowry and Candy Joe here, and gonna have to do a little horse rotation because they have a full 4-piece of XFORCE not too far off. No time to waste though, because Liquid up in the thick of it with Sinners. I don't know if Sinners has had a lot of screen time yet today, so we're gonna push in to them, and on the alt cam we'll have Liquid. Jazzy and Scarface at the forefront of this push. It looks like Scarface is going to be the off-angle holder. Now, whether or not they know about Liquid's dock here, yet to be seen. I mean, it's got to be... Yeah, there he is. Scarface saying hello to my little friend Barry and those cockroaches. And now being ganged on by Neon of Liquid. And boy, Neon's not done. He's got a utility with Scarface's name on it. He's writing it down with a little tag. And boom, taking him down to half health, but not enough to seal the deal. Oh, Neon taking some side angle shots from who? I mean, it had to have been from the remainder of Sinner, so it must have been Scarface. Scarface putting the shots outwards towards Ding. Ding is brought down to about 15% of his overall health, and there is the secured knock. Neon gonna try a small flank here, all the while in the alt feed. I'll pull it up. Alexis is eliminated for JRZ, and Philo, the last hope for JRZ in a 1v3, relying on a hovercraft on the alt cam here. Oh my goodness, if Philo pulls this off, he's got another... Oh! Philo was eating frog legs for just a minute there. Made me think he was going to be able to pull it off, but ultimately not going to happen. Scarface down before our eyes, leaving everything in the hands of Jazzy and Karan. Jazzy going to be in charge of medic duty, while Karan provides the overwatch, cover fire, and hopefully is able to hold off the opposition, or what remains of the opposition of Team Liquid at bay. Realistically, one well-timed nade could be the end of Liquid. Oh, I'm not sure what happened. Oh, they were eliminated after the scroll. That's... Sorry about that, guys. Not really sure what the heck just happened. And that is a friendly nade, it looks like. All right. No time to waste, though. Oh, I see. I've got, I'm not trying to do this. I'm not really sure what is happening. Okay. We got a couple fights here on the board. One of the frogs dealing with members of, I believe, Complex. They got a little bit of space, though. I'm going to zoom in, catch a closer look here. It does look like iNCO could be pushed on here by none other than Almost There. We're going to get our eyes on Vitali. He seems to be one of the closer members to the opposition. And just the scouting game. All the while, it looks like CX off in the distance against the Frogs. So we'll catch eyes on that. Yeah, here we have it. Problem may, in fact, have a problem on his hands. It looks to be Wishy, and he's going to bow out, return to some of the assistance of his teammates, kind of have a little bit more room and fight on later. Understandable. So back to iNCO we go, ladies and gentlemen. iNCO playing the slow game here. 0 elims on the board, but as we know, iNCO knows how to handle their CQCs. They're no strangers to getting those late game eliminations. I'm not too concerned. Alright, does not look like Almost There is too eager for the fight just yet. And we still have 4 more teams that need to be eliminated before that bracket replacement point is met. So bit of time to kill here for some of these teams. Tell you what, we're going to switch our attention to Entity. Oh, maybe not. All right, A7 it is. Mafioso is next in the feed. So we're catching eyes on Alpha 7 here. Looks like they were able to secure a knock on Almost There, but they've got a real cluster forming here. If you look on the bottom right of the screen, I pulled up the map view, and yeah, a cluster is forming between Entity, iNCO, XFORCE, Almost There, and A7. And look, they are going to swarm onto what remains of A7. At this point, it's down to Gutsy, Ice, and Knight. Ice. Oh, pardon me. Gutsy is downed. Ice and Knight remain. Knight with very little health to speak of, and desperately in need of some meds. Is able to secure the med kit here. I guess, pardon me, the first aid. But this is essentially spelling the end for him as Alpha 7 prepares for an aggressive push. Sensation at the forefront of it. UMP 45 CQC Annihilator in hand, and Grizel with a beautifully placed nade on the Knight. And Chivalry is dead. Nice. Last hope. They're trying to get onto him, but before I can switch over, Almost There is almost out and down. Done, dusted, back to lobby they go. But A7 really showing that form here. Alpha 7 looking strong here with 7 elims on the board, looking for a repeat of round 2. And a lot of these teams are putting their eggs in the top half of the zone basket here, as you can see. Anuxify, Mini 14 in hand with a little bit of trouble spelled out for A7. Not any connecting damage there just yet. On the alt cam, I think I'm going to switch over to iNCO again. Yep, iNCO is in the thick of it now with Complex. We're going to pull it up. Going to pull Complex up on the alt cam as well. Doesn't look like iNCO is particularly hunting Complex. Might have just been a coincidental encounter. But Complex not overly eager to take on that fight either. So a bit of a battle of patience between those teams. And switching over to XFORCE, just for the simple fact that they find themselves sandwiched yet again between a rock, a hard place, and another rock. And that's going to be Velocity, A7, and Digital Age that they're kind of pinched between, with Fate pushing around, scouting, trying to relay what bits of essential information he can back to his team. Well, here's some critical info. Digital Age holding that house. All right. Well, ooh, here we go. Sinners. Is it the Sinners? Yes, it is. It's Karan in the mix here with iNCO, Bruno's in, and oh, look at the assistance coming in from the iNCO teammates. They are a ways away, but not a ways away. They're close enough to provide some assistance whenever the boys and Sinners peek around the edge of the sniper tower. But as long as they didn't do that, it would have left it in a one-person iNCO to worry about kind of situation. Thing is, they wouldn't been able to push up to the stairs without going around that sniper tower. So, I don't know what to do in that position other than wait it out is the safe bet, but who wants to do that? I like to see this 2-1-1 split by iNCO, but it is going to come with some risk, meaning if Bruno or McGrellin is knocked, it's going to be relying upon the other of those two to secure that revive, assuming that the shots came from the east. And otherwise, I think it's going to be a tough recall, or pardon me, a tough revive. Oh, not that. Okay. Getting eyes on the final hope for version 9, Jack Lord. Just a solo on the outskirts of Yasnaya, and it doesn't look like he's even a secret. It seems like the frogs may have a bit of intel on his location. Well, 10 teams remain, ladies and gentlemen, spread across 28 people as we reach the concluding portions of Stage 3. It's only Stage 3 ending, and we're down to 10 teams already. And where's the next bit of action going to come from? Tough to say. I think I'm just going to keep the map up here on the alt cam for now. A7 still down to a 2-piece, but look at how they behave in comparison to some of these other competitors. As a 2-piece, Mafioso and Sensation are both comfortable driving around solo vehicles, just out there actively seeking confrontation. And boy, asking you might receive here, as we got the boys in Poison getting a little bit closer here. Velocity maybe doing A7 a little assistance in taking the attention of Poison away from him. But no time to waste as Entity thrown into the thick of it with Digital Age. Both sides of the altercation on the board here, and oof, Nexus is downed, leaving everything in the hands of Ace alone. Ace trying to cook a preliminary nade, but that 2-2 split, or that 3-1 split by Digital Age, executed perfectly. All right, and now down to 9 teams as we begin the stages, or the beginning portion of Stage 4. Look at this, and Nuxify with a pretty impressive knock on XFORCE in the sniper tower. The problem therein lies that there's no way to secure that finish from where his location is, especially given the positioning of Alpha 7 and Poison. Let's check in on this revive here. C9 not really having too much trouble securing it. Couple bullets taken in as he tries to retreat back to the warehouse, but he makes it okay. And oof, of all the things to see XFORCE have, ready and waiting. These are the boys who invented the hovercraft strat in PMSL. So definitely not something to take lightly. Well, Jack Lord says he's going to be the bologna in this peanut butter and truffle sandwich, and that is not looking ideal. Whether he knows about X-Force or not, yet to be seen. I'm betting he might not. All right, well, he grabs that little tiny shack here for dear life, and I say this time and time again, but I find that these shacks are more often than not a team's undoing. That 4 walls is 4 walls of false security, and all it takes is just a nade, not even aimed, not even really aimed, just thrown through the window, and it's basically game over. All right, iNCO putting the pressure on the likes of Complex here. Wishy trying to provide the overwatch and cover fire here, holding off McGrellin and the rest of the iNCO boys, while Tuffo tries to heal up. And this 2-1 split is very likely going to be the undoing of Wishy. Right here and now, case in point, boom goes the dynamite.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Okay, we are down to 9 teams across 24 people. Getting the lay of the land here, it is definitely a spread and not a lot of compound cover to choose from. Real estate is limited, and this is where every moment counts, meaning at this stage, only one more team needs to be eliminated before the bracket for placement points is met. And at that point, every team you survive longer than is just free points on the board. But with iNCO, Bruno's end creeping ever closer to the boys in A7, we might see a fight of the Titans here. All the while, we got the Frogs off in the distance, pulling them up on the alt feed, putting in the work on X-Force. X-Force really in a world of trouble here. Take that back. That might have been, yeah, I apologize. That was actually poison. All right, well, here's the iNCO push here and now. It is down. Oof! Vitali soon to follow, leaving everything in the hands of Bruno and McGrellin. And yeah, you could tell that they left some coins in the back pocket because it was a 2-2 split here. Velocity going to finish off what remains of iNCO. All the while, X-Force getting X'd out here, down to a 2-piece of DK and 999. But there it is. The infamous hovercraft strat is in effect here. Now, X-Force, 2 elims on the board, both going to Fate, who's already been eliminated. And the nades are just raining on top of X-Force at the hands of Poison, iNCO, and Digital Age. Oh, well, goodness knows. I thought that could have been it, but that hovercraft keeping 9 from the lobby. Bruno's in, really putting the pressure on Digital Age, and it's a knock and a finish on what remained of Digital Age with that finish on Zendry. And just like that, iNCO, 7 elims on the board, but get this, 5 of those 7 responsible by this man right here, Bruno's in. Poison, just biding the time, but remember what I said, all it is at that point is basically fish in a barrel. And it's just a matter of time, unless Lowry is able to get a lucky nade on, oh my goodness, an unintended third party coming in at just the right time from the 4 Sexy Frogs' Lux. And can this be enough to, oh gosh, both of these guys are competing to try to get the utility elim steal away from Flux of 4 Sexy Frogs. Both iNCO and Poison want that. 9 with a risky revive attempt if he's gonna do it, and he does successfully stick it. And you know what? I shouldn't sound so surprised because the fact that Poison and iNCO were up there kind of hindered either of those teams from actually pushing on the knock. Well, a Nuxify, a Velocity, edging closer to iNCO, and even from a low ground disadvantage, able to get the takedown. And we are down to 4 teams, ladies and gentlemen, spread across 11 players. All right, Poison. Oh, thrown into the thick of it, and now Lowry is the only hope remaining. And I say fish in a barrel. I don't want to be right all the time, but if these guys can get this nade through the window, it's down, done, and dusted. They still get the secure the revive, and I'm guessing that's got to be because Velocity was waiting for that push on the knock. And look at him from the low ground disadvantages, taking 2 of the 3 remaining iNCO members out. It's all in the hands of Magrellan alone. Magrellan cooking a preliminary nade, all the while Poison and Velocity square off. This is interesting. Magrellan pushing on a 1v2. Brought down, approaching it at half health and taking the third-party fire. Oh my gosh, using the hovercraft as movable cover, even though it's being driven by the enemy in XFORCE. All the while, Enuxify pushing forward. This is an insane in-game, you guys. All right, is this a 2v1v1? No, pardon me, a 2v3v2? Yeah, 2v3v2. And Force quickly pushing up. And this is the advantage of that hovercraft. You don't have to always be too careful when it can take that much bullet damage. And look at this. Now 9 has blocked his opponent in the shack and essentially given the win to Velocity. Any way you look at it, that is game over. But wow, that was one of the most insane in-games I've seen in a long time. Absolute berserker bloodbath warfare from, I don't know, the last entire zone and a half to 2 zones have just been an onslaught of eliminations. But let's give credit because Velocity has done the impossible, the back-to-back chicken dinner on the tip of their tongue, first place finish, and doing so with 11 elims spread out between Enuxify and Bot alone. 2 players, 11 elims, first place finish, a healthy 21-point gain for the 2nd time in a row. Ain't nothing wrong with silver if you're doing it with the hovercraft strat and 7 elims on the board. XFORCE, baby. We got Poison getting top 3 again, this time with 4 elims. iNCO in 4th with 8. We got the 4 Sexy Frogs ending in 5th and doing so with 7 elims. Complex in 6th with 1. Digital Age in 7th with 7. Version 9 in 8th with 4. Alpha 7 in 9th with 7. Team Entity in 10th with 3. The Sinners in 11th with 4. Almost There in 12th with 1. Liquid in 13th with 1. JRZ in 14th with 0. Phyra in 15th with 0, CK in 16th with 0, and lastly, Broken Spirit in last with 1. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that's 4 rounds down, done, and dusted, but stick around. We'll be back at you in just a few short moments with our 5th and our final round of the PUBG Mobile XLN Community Cup Finals, Day 1, in just a few short moments. Be back soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Whoops. To our fifth and our final round of the night of the PUBG Mobile XLN Community Cup Finals. Before we get too much into it, let's have a look at the overall scores as they currently stand. So here you see it, Velocity. Now, those back-to-back chicken dinners have come into effect here as they take the lead over Alpha 7 with a 7-point lead over second place. Alpha 7 with a pretty healthy 12-point gain over iNCO, who holds third. Frogs trailing iNCO by only 2 points, and XFORCE trailing the Frogs by only 4 at 33. Well, it all comes down to this fifth and final round here for day one. One more match to make your mark known and really add that intimidation factor before these teams have their locker room pep talks, before they go studying the VODs and trying to correct the errors made in day one. They want to move into day two in the living rent-free in the heads of their opponents, so to speak. And this is your chance to add that panic factor. We got Entity dropping alongside, it looks like Sinners. And yeah, neither are backing off. They both, it looks like they might both want that Golden Dorado a little too much here. They are both committing to it. Knight is not backing down. All right. Well, Vector in hand and sent back to lobby. And look at this, almost there. Entering this last match as a two-piece. I hate to see that. Especially, you know, I don't know what the rules are of this event, but usually it's pretty common to see a minimum of 3 players needed to get scoring. But Wiz in a 1v4 now, getting the takedown on Lofton, and no time to even secure the thirst as Ace comes in, guns a-blazing, and S12s him. That's a quick round 5 finish for them, and a little insult to injury as Nexus shoots on the crate. No time to waste though. Liquid already in the action here with the sexy frogs. How many sexy frogs? Only 3 sexy frogs remain, as Snow has already been eliminated. Huh. One moment, you guys. Oops. All right, a battle of patience is all that's happening here. I'm going to switch over to Problem in just a minute. You should be able to see him on the alt feed now, but as you can see, it's a bit of a pickle, because Ding here had a couple moments where he had slivers of lines of sight on him. Oh, I see what I did. Look at how glitchy that is. All right. That is so weird. Ding really biding his time here. And this is kind of the issue I have with a lot of these Picado drops. This is just happens time and time again where teams can end up waiting each other out for sometimes the entirety of the match. Luckily, we got Neon of Liquid pushing up, guns a-blazing, and he has an S18 shotgun in hand to make some magic happen. Furiosa and Flux, the closest of the oppositions here. Well, the only 2 remaining frogs left here. Looks like Liquid's got a taste of frog legs and they want more. Lux taking his final stand here, but it is not enough. Outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned, unfortunately for him. Okay, we got my camera back. Let's go. And Furiosa naded out of the equation right then and there, and the frogs hop on back to lobby. Now, a little bit of contestation between the Phyra boys and a member, I shouldn't say the members, but a member of Sinners, Mr. Scarface, the heavy hitter for the team in the previous round. And he is running forward towards Rizzy without any weapon equipped, so making me wonder. But no, he definitely knows about Rizzy. And Rizzy's going to choose to try to bow out, but driving right in the line of fire. And look at that reaction time on Rizzy, quickly hopping out of the vehicle and hopping on over to a position of cover, cooking up a utility. And now Scarface taking distance shots here. Oh my goodness. This 1v about at equal health here. And yep, the DBS, that sounds the same in every language. Saying back to lobby. We need no translator. Alright. Tell you what. We're going to get the map up on the alt cam. Oh yeah. That's just the remainder of Sinners and Phyra are still squaring off. We're going to switch over to Adrenaline. Oh, nope. His teammate Karan has been naded out. Adrenaline, Jazzy, and Scarface pushing on the opposition of Phyra. Scarface driving headfirst into the thick of it. M4 in hand, aimed outwards at the opposition. Oh no, Fall is ironically living up to his name, falling all the way back down to lobby, leaving it up in the hands of Laughter and Room. But there's no room for laughter when you're stuck in a 2v4. Good God.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Alright, well, let's see how they can play this, because realistically, for being stuck in a 2v4, I do like their spread. And I'd say if there was going to be a successful 2v4, this would probably be the formation necessary to do it without actually going in full-on berserker. But no time. This has been waging on for quite some time, so we're going to go head down south where the back-to-back chicken dinner winners here, Velocity, are squaring off this time against the winners of round 1, Poison, and that is just Candy Joe there. Candy Joe is a little bit too alone to have any assistance come in, so Larry and Lay gonna have to carry on the team's name. Alright, going back probably to the Sinners and Phyra, unless any other altercations are on the board. Velocity getting that takedown on Karan, we saw that. Yeah, okay, so switching on back, this time to Sinners' perspective. Or, pardon me, the Phyra's perspective. Look at this, Jazzy! Talk about high ground. Sorry guys, without that advanced observer client, it's going to look choppy whenever I do that stuff. Alright, well I gotta say, the Phyras are honestly holding this really well as a two-piece. And as you see, they have actually diminished the opposition down to a fair fight. So where the Sinners had a full four-piece team on Phyra, they were able to chip away at two of the members. Now we have a fair fight on our hands, and with Phyra being a bit more comfortable in their splits, it could spell trouble for the Sinners. However, the Sinners do have a lot of advantage in that high ground. Well, no time to waste. Digital Age and Velocity in the kill feed. Let's have a look at it. Okay, well, we got Rico down. Anointed, Zendry, and Malo remain here. And, uh-oh, a little bit of a freeze. Don't worry if it happens, though, folks. If it does, I will be able to pull up. Yep, let me just go ahead and pull up the iPad now while this... Yeah, it looks like it might be frozen. I don't know. We'll see. So, bear with me here. If I have to, I'll restart it and hope we... Yeah, it does look like it's yeah, I'm gonna have to restart the other stuff. The game is definitely frozen for whatever reason. Okay. Well, shots being fired upwards towards centers. Alright, now I've got the sound on for myself. Should actually be able to hear. This is why we have a backup plan set in place. Shot down onto the Phyra, not enough to secure the knock. How is that even possible? How much health could he possibly have? Well, enough to get healed up either way. Give me a moment, you guys. The emulator is restarting. We'll hope that we can get back in the match. But if not, we'll just have to do it from the tablet itself. A battle of patience between both teams here, but Jazzy swallowing some of that blue zone damage. Luckily, doing pretty well in terms of meta. All the while, Alpha 7 and JRZ squaring off. It is going to be a tough one for JRZ. Gazao, guess who, and Mafioso in a 2-1 split. Gazao with the off angle, I believe. Or, pardon me, oh goodness. Mafioso with that off angle. Guess who? Taken down in a quick retaliation knock. And now we got a 1v2, but Gazao really kind of on his own here against Hawiwi, unless Hawiwi creeps over that hill. Which he does. He does secure the knock, though. Alright, we are hopping back in the match on the emulator. Mafioso, the last hope now for Alpha 7. Okay. And look at that, ladies and gentlemen. We got it back. We are back in business. Mafioso falling back to Gazao and trying to provide some cover here to secure a revive. If he's allowed to get these revives off, it's a huge error on JRZ Hawiwi's end. I mean, you can't ask for more of an opportunity. But now, a little bit of time wasted. Luckily, he is able to get close to A7 before Mafioso completed the revive. Now low ground disadvantage, but a shotgun nonetheless. S12 bullets are out there up against Mafioso's P90. Mafioso turns his back on Hawiwi. Or Hawiwi. Oh my goodness. I can't believe I just saw that. Him turn his back on the opposition. And look, I see why now. Because CK holding position. But Mafioso thinking he's safe. He is everything but safe right now, as CK holding that high ground with a hovercraft with nothing but third-party opportunities on their mind. Mafioso able to let Hawiwi murder himself. It was a risky attempt to try to jump down on an already weakened Mafioso, but in doing so jumped a little bit incorrectly, fell down the mountain way, and unfortunately for him, we were watching. I like to see this here from CK, though. This Celebrity Killers split here with one member being the distractor. The hovercraft occupier, it's going to be a tough one. Even knowing that Siu's right there. Mafioso is limited on options. And look at the Siu putting it into reverse and just keeping the pressure on him. And ultimately, it's 77k from the high ground to finish the job. Hovercraft strat for the win. Thank you, XFORCE, for that. They're the ones who introduced it. All right, next closest thing to an altercation at this point is going to have to be, what, iNCO and Entity maybe? But realistically, they do have some space there between them. Not a single team, though, ladies and gentlemen, not a single team occupying the top half of this map. Well, I shouldn't say not a single team. I guess you kind of have the Broken Spirits working their way into it, and now maybe some teams joining in. All right, gonna switch down south, where what remains of Poison fairly close to the opposition in version 9. I don't think version 9 is either aware of them or they don't want the fight. 13 teams remain, spread across 44 participants, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're just now tuning in, this is the 5th and final round of the day of the PUBG Mobile XLN Community Cup Finals Day 1. Okay, I guess we'll get our eyes sent over towards Digital Age. They're not really much of a concern in proximity to XFORCE or Liquid, but it could amount to something down the road here. And as you can see, Malo putting out a couple warning shots towards XFORCE's way, probably not the best of ideas, because whether or not they know it, they've got multiple members of Team Liquid not far off. It looks like Doc, Ding, the full 4-piece potentially, all close by and waiting for that opportunity to strike. It's going to be Neon and a Shoe who would have that opportunity using the Hillcrest. All right, Liquid, not alone. They got Velocity here and now, and Velocity, say that confidence and momentum are in full form. They've been snowballing that confidence over the day, and now, after 2 chicken dinners back to back, you can safely say they're feeling a little bit of slack in the rope. But we got action on the board. It looks like Entity getting a member of version 9. I think I saw a member of CK being focused on as well. But against who, I couldn't tell you. Oh, it would have to be the opposition in Sinners. But not happening much at the moment. And that's okay, because anyone who's seen me commentate anything ever knows what I'm about to say. You know, if we are left with a passive first half, that's going to be okay, because it'll always translate to an action-packed mid or in-game. But I do believe, yep, didn't we just see it? Yep, Entity is in the feed. Once again, now they are putting some work in on the likes of Complex. Now, all this noise and commotion is basically putting a honing beam out in the sky for the team iNCO to prepare for a third-party opportunity. And look at him. Bruno's then coming in at the lead alongside McGrellin, but look at the experience on these guys. This 2-1 split, keeping Vitali as an off angle, having him push in even later than his team. This is just a team that puts everything into account. And that's Entity Hunter getting a takedown in the distance. This is one of those situations where the spread from Entity could serve advantageously or disadvantageously. And it's kind of a coin toss depending on what these other teams do, meaning Complex and iNCO. Now, Hunter being a little bit of the focal point there, taking a lot of damage, but is it going to be a vehicle explosion? Hunter escaping barely, but as soon as, you know, he's out of the frying pan, kind of thrown right back into the fire, as we got Peralta, Don Peralta of Complex Esports, not letting his foot off the pedal. All right, we got multiple fights preparing to ensue here. Potentially, yep. I'm going to get XFORCE on the alt cam as they square off against Velocity. You know what? Yeah, we'll have that on the alt cam. Oof! Quick work. The dawn has fallen. And now look at this. Complex Nash in a complex situation, but yet driving forward towards a full squad of Entity and iNCO like it's an easy decision. iNCO with blood on the mind. Bruno's in, aimed outwards towards Nexus, cooking up that nade, throwing it at where Nexus was, not where Nexus would be. And honestly, I gotta say, if Nexus is able to escape this without losing anyone, I don't know. Aegis down right before our eyes, and now Bruno's the one who's got to tuck tail and run. And down he goes. All right, Vitali focusing on version 9 Eno, but Eno with the 1v2. I actually might have to withdraw that. I think I saw Jacklord getting one of those as well. So some assistance from the distance. Impressive nonetheless. Version 9 putting their name on the board now. Entity desperately in need of some meds here. Nexus gonna play medic duty before this inevitable push from Liquid, but will it be enough time? I don't think so. Doc pushing up to the party. Nexus still getting the first shots off, but boy, oh boy, you can only look in so many directions at once, and you turn to face Entity, and Velocity is gonna capitalize. And what does Velocity have to lose? Why not take that chance after coming off of a back-to-back chicken dinner finish? You know, they are full confidence, full momentum, really feeling themselves right now. And with entering the match with, I believe, a 7-point gap between themselves and second place Alpha 7. And Alpha 7 was eliminated already. So why not take those chances if you're Velocity? And I'd say Velocity only is about the only team that has that wiggle room. And Jack taking down to the prone zone. Realistically, probably should have had that knock after Velocity missed, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Nito and Godkid trying to hold him off. Nito actually leaving Godkid to face the entirety of Velocity here. I'm not sure what the plan was. If it was to do a sneak spread flank there, then that nade was counterproductive. But here we see it, Godkid keeping unpredictable here. Looked like he was going to drive away, but I believe he took notice of celebrity killers and realized he had to turn back. And now, about to jump head first into a pool of Liquid. Liquid coming fresh off a finish on XFORCE, and Neon quickly stayed on here. Godkid doing a healthy load of damage, but not enough to finish the job. Now, I don't like this at all from version 9. Not even getting all the way into this new zone, but they're not really surveying the scene to see where they are positioning themselves in this position. Godkid and Nito just essentially drove right in between a rock and a hard place, but with one of those rocks being Velocity and the other being Team Liquid. I mean, oof. Nito, the final hope now, and one nade could spell the end for version 9. Can they get this revive on Godkid? Well, enshrouding himself in a cloud of smoke, he's going to make his best shot at it, and luckily for him, Liquid and Velocity are actually going to focus on each other, giving that saving grace that version 9 needed to get these. And now it's just easy elim steals for version 9. Nito, what is this? What in the heck is this? I want to try to be able to explain this strategy, but Nito did not survey the surroundings. There's no way. We got a battle of the solos here, but Godkid quick to push, and that's quick work. Now, out of the frying pan into the digital age fire, so to speak. All the while, Sinners focusing in on Poison. Scarface with that takedown limit. He's responsible for 66% of the team's 3 elims. And now, look at this, pushing upwards for a third-party opportunity that, oh my goodness, the celebrity killers are not going to expect it. And Samar down by Scarface, but luckily Sue with the high ground getting the finish, retaliatory knock, and taking down Jazzy. Look at this. Velocity catching a second shot at life. He was brought down to their last hope bot, but just when he was about to be picked alive, CK had to turn their attention towards that push from Sinners. And now, bot, probably not going to be a lot of opportunity to squad wipe here, but any team that he can outlive now, just like he just did, that's extra points on the board for Velocity, a team that everyone else needed out of the equation early. Well, bot sinking a monster nade. Boom goes the dynamite. Taken right on out. Revenge, a dish served cold and fast and with a frag. 3 teams remain, spread across 8 people, ladies and gentlemen. Tell you what, we'll put up the map. Actually, we'll get the eye in the sky here on the alt cam. All right, here comes that inevitable push. Oh, it's a finish on God Kid. Now we got ourselves a 2v, or probably a 3v4. Anointed, 77k. Wow, 77k. A lot of patience there. Not putting out any shots, but he didn't have that visual that we did. Pulling off more sound cues. It was enough to seal the deal. And ladies and gentlemen, what an in-game finish, any way you look at it. Oh, you can hear those shots on the crate, too. That is brutal. Ooh, how do you like that still frame of me? Mouth just half open. Oof. We're going to get that off the screen. All right. Any way you look at it, though, that is game over. And honestly, a well-needed win for Celebrity Killers. They certainly did not have the day that they were hoping for until round 5. And, you know, talk about a comeback. I mean, a first-place finish, add on to that 10 eliminations on the board. It is a very optimistic way to end the day. If you had a bad one, focus on the last round. Oh my God, this camera is just all out of whack. All right, second place going to Digital Age. Ain't nothing wrong with silver, especially when you got 4 elims to add on to it. Mayalo responsible for 3 of the team's 4 elims. All right, let's see. Version 9 in third place with 4, half of which go to God Kid. Velocity in 4th with 7 between a Nuxify and Bot. We've got Poison in 5th place, but again, a bit, oh, pardon me, of, yeah, so Velocity, 7 elims between a Nuxify and Bot, and that's coming after 2 first places. So they got a first, and a 4th for their last 3 out of the 5 matches. Velocity is looking strong. Poison, it's been a rough day for them with exception to round 1, and this is not really a much different tale to tell, because yeah, they're getting good placement, but the eliminations speak for themselves on how they're doing it, meaning that they are prioritizing placement, but when it comes to those confrontations and taking on their ones, they might feel a little bit less comfortable on the board here. So keep in mind, yes, it has been effective to keep Poison in the top half of the bracket, but in terms of taking home that first place 800 or second place 400, third place 200, or fourth place $100 prizes, you know, I think it's going to take a bit more, meaning that they're going to have to really take a chance and push out, make some more risky moves to try to get some elims on the board while still securing those placement points. Sinners in 6th place with 3, 2 of which came from Scarface. Liquid in 7th with 11 elims between Ashu, Doc, and Neon. We saw Ding eliminated almost immediately, I believe, this match, so that's not bad work. XFORCE in 8th with 4 between Legend and DK. Entity in 9th and doing so with 6 elims on the board. iNCO in 10th with 2 elims from Aegis.
We got the Golden Pyrus in 11th with 2. Complex in 12th with 1. Broken Spirit in 13th with 1. Alpha 7, a rough go of it, and a extra boost to velocity. It might have even been velocity. Actually, I think it might have been Entity. Not sure if I can safely say who ended up taking out Alpha 7 early on, but the fact is when Velocity saw A7 eliminated in the feed, it gave them a little bit more wiggle room. The team that needed the least wiggle room got a little bit more because that was their closest competitor for their title of King of the Hill, first place. And without them having an option, without A7 having any hope of getting more points on the board after that, Velocity could really afford to take those chances. JRZ in 15th with 3. The 4 Sexy Frogs in 16th with 0 Sexy Elims. And almost there, not quite there this time around, 17th in last place. And that's, honestly, they entered as a 2-piece and were immediately thrown into the thick of it. From what I've seen of this team, I would like to see that fight repeated with them as a full 4-piece, because almost there is certainly earning a name for themselves in the grand scheme of things with this and Titan Series and a lot of these other competing events in perspective. But ladies and gentlemen, that's 5 of the event's 10 matches down, done, dusted, and out of the way. Now the rest of the day is about study time, reviewing the VODs, going over the tapes, and seeing where your teams have made just, let's say, unnecessary mistakes. What can be corrected in these brief 24 hours before we enter day 2? Because I'll tell you right now, only 5 more matches remain. You have 5 more matches to make your brand, your team, and your mark known to the rest of the playing field. You got 5 more matches to take home that $800 first place prize, or let's just say your share of the $1,500 prize pool. And so either if you were off at a slow start, if you had trouble getting the ball rolling day 1, well, you better hope that ball turns into a snowball and becomes a boulder immediately on day 2. Especially if your team's like, let's say, JRZ, finding yourself a little bit lower on the bracket board. Let's see where the placements were entering this. Oh, we got the final unofficial results just in. One moment. So, make sure I got this. Yep. The final results after match 5, these are unofficial results, keep in mind. But as it currently stands, Velocity has boosted their first place lead to now a 16-point gap thanks to Alpha 7's early elimination in round 5. Now this is going to be a little bit more wiggle room, a little bit more slack in the rope for Velocity, but certainly not a reason to let their foot off the pedal, because even with A7 being in second place, they're only 16 points behind, and they are one of the most notorious comeback teams in the entire history of PUBG Mobile. So by all means, yes, be proud of the work you've done, but you cannot you cannot take Alpha 7 for granted. Don't think that you've got them pinned by any means, because 16 points, they can come back from that with extra points to spare in one short match. I believe was it Titan that Alpha 7 was the highest point scorer in a single match in the event, with I believe it was a 25 or 27 point gain from one match alone. So if that had happened here, or if that happens in round 1 tomorrow, it'll be coming back from a 16-point deficit to literally like a 10-point lead. So by all means, no letting your foot off the pedal when it comes to A7. iNCO in 3rd with 41, but they only lead XFORCE by 3 points. XFORCE has been one of those steady performers here. It hasn't been as beneficial or as impressive as, let's say, like the later stages of PMSL, but XFORCE has been consistent. And regardless of maybe not having a ton of elimination intensive games, the fact that they are securing those placements and able to keep themselves in that top 5 bracket, I think that definitely makes them a formidable force coming into tomorrow, especially between themselves and iNCO. Let's give credit to the Frogs. They are only 1 point behind XFORCE, so everything that's said for XFORCE goes for the Frogs as well. And same can be said for Poison and Digital Age, and realistically Celebrity as well. The entire first half of the bracket, the entire left side of the placement board, really has a shot at kind of getting up to that iNCO placement. So iNCO, 41 points, only a 9-point lead over 8th place. Liquid in 9th with 25, Version 9 in 10th with 16, Golden Phyra in 11th with 15, neck and neck with the Broken Spirits, who hold 12th with 15, and they're 1 point ahead of Sinners, who's 1 point ahead of JRZ, who's 1 point ahead of Entity, and you get the gist. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the sound of my voice means that my voice is about to give out, so we're ending just at the right time. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting, and I hope to see you guys all here, same time, same place, for day 2 tomorrow, the final day of the XLN Community Cup Finals. And until then, I hope you all have a great night, have fun, be safe, and be kind to one another. GG's.